How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. First off, I want to say I heard of the very first time I heard of you was during a live stream with MC Chris when you were on tour with him and MC Schaefer.
Oh,
I'm Schaefer, the Dark Lord,
yeah.
and I think
Wow.
he was paying you one night,
Oh,
and
wow. That's so
and
cool.
you and Schaefer hopped in the car, and that's when I first heard of you.
Oh, wow. We did that. I know that we did that. I don't remember which show it was, but I clearly remember doing that. It was one of those post-show things. Like Chris always does this post-show like stream to his fans while he's sitting in the car. Like I'm
Right.
aware of those, and I believe he does one for every single show. But then one night, I think he just kind of looped us in. We're not usually his openers. His openers are usually not usually part of that stream, but he looped us in just for fun. I just don't remember which show that was. Do you remember, like,
Oh
the
man,
city?
I don't.
Okay.
I want to say Cincinnati, but I feel like if I do, I'm lying.
We didn't go to Cincinnati, but it
Then
might
I would
have
have been
been
lying.
in Cleveland. I think
That could have been it.
yeah, it's not Columbus because I know that we were really swamped after the Columbus show. The Columbus show is usually one of our bigger ones, so
Okay.
uh we were like running out of time. We had to like talk to fans a whole lot. Cleveland though was a little more tame, so it might have been that one.
Could have been. Like I said, I'm
Yeah.
not sure. So, like I said, if I named something, I would have been lying, and I named something, I was lying. So,
Well, you're in Central Time, so you obviously were not at that show. Were you just
no.
watching at home?
Yeah, I'm in Texas.
Oh, wow. Okay. Cool. What
Yeah,
part?
so, Dallas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
We
y'all didn't make it out this way.
not this time, but the year before we did. Near Halloween, we did a show on October 30th in Dallas in 2018. It was good. I haven't been out that way very often. But Dallas was a good show, and I got a lot of nears and dears in kind of that area in general, Texas.
I hear a lot of people that say that. I mean, I guess I can understand that because down here in Dallas, it's kind of been booming with people moving in from everywhere.
I hear that a lot with just Texas in general.
And actually, a lot of people are coming in from California.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I feel like Californians are really tired about how expensive it is out there, so they're all moving in droves to Colorado, Arizona, Texas, like just kind of, out there in that area. They don't want to go too far because, the weather and whatever. They don't
Right.
want to, get rid of the nice California weather. So they just want somewhere that's less expensive. Someone asked me once what Denver was like, and I told them I didn't spend enough time there to really know what it was like. But the vibe that I got was that it felt kind of like Portland, Oregon. And my theory is that it's because of all the California transplants that are moving into Denver and Portland, making them feel kind of similar. I don't know if that's true.
So, do you think Denver got the first wave of transplants because they were the first state to legalize weed?
I think it's possible. I mean, they were the very, very first, but I don't
Right.
think that California was very far off.
No, I think
Weed
they
was
got it.
legal when I lived in California. I
Where
believe
do you
they
live
did.
now?
I live in New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I moved last year, but for up until like 2019, I lived in California, so I know how expensive it is.
Well, I wanted to move out there, but I keep hearing how expensive it is. But with wanting to be with wanting to be a director, eventually I'm going to have to move out there sooner or later.
Yeah. I mean, depends on what you're trying to do, right? Uh,
Director,
like a
writer.
movie director? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you got to be in LA for that, but I have no idea what that scene is like. I mean, there's opportunities out here in New York too, but some people say that New York is a good place to go to grow your career, and then LA is a good place to go when you're super famous. So that's one of the reasons I'm in New York.
well, who knows? You may make it back out to California.
Yeah, it's possible. If I really blow up and get super famous, then maybe I'll have to be in LA, even if I don't want to be. I really like New York City. I like that you don't need a car. Just walk around. I mean, Dallas is kind of like a driving only city, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to do within certain areas, but it's also if you don't have a car, you're not going nowhere. You can walk to a couple of stores here and there, but to do actually something, you got to go into the actual city.
Yeah, it's not really a walking friendly place. Kind of like the southern part of the Bay Area. So I used to live in Oakland. If you go a little bit further south, that's San Jose, and
Okay.
you can't walk really, not really, especially in the more residential areas. You basically need to have a car. So all the techies who live kind of, near Google or Facebook, that sort of thing, they all have cars. It's not really like that further up in the Bay, like Oakland, San Francisco. But you basically need a car for everywhere else in California.
You moved to California because you went to Berkeley, right?
Yes, that's right.
So
It feels like
on
so much so long ago.
on one of the another podcast you were on, you said that you went there because that was one of the best schools you got accepted to.
It was the best school I got accepted to.
But was it the only one?
No, no, no.
What were some of the other ones?
I got accepted at UCLA. I got accepted at UC San Diego. I believe I also got offers from University of Washington. I'm trying to remember. It was so long ago. At this point, this is like almost 10 years ago. Yeah, I applied to a whole bunch of schools just to make sure that I had enough options. I believe I got some offers from Boston University as well. But I also applied to a lot of Ivy Leagues, like Harvard, Stanford. Stanford's not an Ivy League, but I didn't get into any of those like super high tier schools. But I did get into UC Berkeley, which is, good enough for me. So I was like, okay, like, we're gonna go for it. Honestly, I think it was a great decision. UC Berkeley has a very different experience compared to smaller private schools. There's just so many people that it's really hard for you to find a community if you're not part of a smaller community. So that's what I did, and I feel like the communities I decided to be a part of made it possible for me to become the person I am today. So in a lot of ways, I'm really glad that I went to California.
So, psychology, why was that the one you picked?
I believe it had something to do with my high school counselor, who was also a psychology major. I've always had emotional problems, and I've always had lots of things that I've had to struggle with, like in my brain. And that wasn't any less a problem for me in high school. So I started seeing this school counselor, um, and she would offer me a lot of really helpful advice to kind of get me through some more difficult times in high school. And I asked her what she thought I should do in college because I was having a hard time deciding, and she said that she would recommend that I study psychology because I didn't really have other necessarily super strong ideas about what I want to do. That was like, what I went for. But also, I really enjoyed studying psychology. I was a really good student in biology classes when I was in high school. And so learning about kind of the intersection of brain stuff and biology stuff, and how chemicals and living systems affect the way we behave and affect the way social interactions happen in real life. To me, that's always a really interesting topic. I still read books about this all the time. I love learning about what makes people tick, how people interact with each other, and how we can improve those interactions for a more efficient and fulfilling existence in life. And I feel like that's what my music is about as well, in a lot of ways.
It reminds me of something Lady Gaga said, that she used to study how to be famous people, and how to be
Hmm.
famous, and that's pretty
Hmm.
much how she became famous. She
I
just
mean, I
applied that
believe her.
to her coming up.
I 100% believe her. Lady Gaga is a smart woman, and she is definitely one of the artists who I not necessarily modeled myself after, but definitely, took some cues, took some notes from. I mean, she knew kind of how to take advantage of human psychology and shock factor in particular to make people notice her. And once she got famous enough from, hacking, fame psychology, essentially, she had enough money to start doing what she wanted, which was like jazz numbers and, that movie with Bradley Cooper. And now she can do whatever she wants, right? So I believe her, and I kind of want to take a look at her notebook and see what she has inside.
So, what exactly is a bachelor's in psychology?
It's an undergraduate degree. It doesn't qualify me to be a professional psychologist. I would need a PsyD for that, which is a higher degree that probably requires 4 or more years of study and research. But an undergraduate degree is 4-year degree. I did it in 3 years because I'm crazy. It involves a whole bunch of stuff like interdisciplinary studies, including like cognitive science, like the neuroscience part of learning how the brain works, social psychology. I took a bunch of classes for that. Social psychology meaning, like interpersonal interactions generally, and how psychology applies to relationships and friendships and family and that sort of thing. And then there's like developmental psychology, which is how your brain changes as you grow up, and theories about how early childhood experiences affect you as an adult. Now, I didn't find that as interesting. Like, I'm not as interested in developmental psychology, but like there was some stuff that was interesting in that. And then on top of all of those, and there's clinical psychology, which teaches you about like mental health disorders, things like that. Like pathological issues. What happens when your brain's not working right, and like how you can diagnose it. Basically, what like clinical psychologists do. Like that's their main focus. And then on top of that, you have to learn research methods like statistics as applied to psychology. A lot of psych majors hated those classes. I actually really like them. I'm not bad at math. I don't like math, but I'm not bad at it. And we didn't have to take that many serious math classes, but we were required to take a basic stats course, and we were required to take a statistics and psychology course. So the basic stats course, I had one of the best professors I've ever had. I'll never forget that professor. And then the higher upperclassmen course was a breeze for me because I had like nice foundations set up from the first basic stats class. But compared to a lot of the other psychology students, I think I was a lot more like, more adept with the math part. Not just because I'm Asian, really, like I'm not good at math for an Asian, but but like yeah, I was I was able to make it through the math classes while also taking all the psych stuff.
So in college, you were also inspired by another teacher, Mr. Sullivan. Is that correct?
That is a middle school teacher and not a college teacher.
The one that got you to write the rap.
That's right. That was
Okay.
Yeah, that was from my middle school experience when I had just transferred schools and I was having a hard time making friends. And I was still learning the English language. And Mr. Sullivan, not only was he a great teacher, a teacher who made me fluent in the English language, essentially. He also gave me that assignment. He was like, okay, class, write a rap song and record it and bring it to class. This is your final assignment. I was like, okay. And I wrote it and then I submitted it. And, he listened to it and took me aside individually and said, Alex, this is really good. You should do this more. I feel like that had a really big impact on me deciding to do this more and write full albums worth of material.
What was that rap? Do you remember?
I have the recording.
You even recorded it too?
Yeah, that was the final project, right? Like we had to record a rap that we wrote on this, on a random beat that you found off YouTube, and then submit it for your final examination. I I have it recorded. I know exactly what it's about. I don't forget things. I have a really good memory. But I'm not uploading it because it's terrible.
Always the first one's not good.
It was my very first rap song that wasn't a parody song. Like when I was younger, I used to write like Weird Al style parodies to like pop songs and stuff. I never wrote anything original until that day. And it's terrible. It's absolutely atrocious. But it's good for a 14-year-old's writing. Like you could tell that I had the foundations down and that I was going to get better. But if you listen to the actual recording, it's terrible.
You put psychology in your music.
Mm-hmm.
What's the, I guess, focus behind that purpose?
Yeah, I think I mentioned a little bit of this earlier. Like, I want to use music to not only facilitate my own interpersonal interactions with other people. I want to find kind of an outlet for people to see the real me, if that makes sense. Like, it's an outlet of self-expression so that people can see what I'm really like, and then be able to interact with me based on what they know through the music. But I also want it to affect people emotionally. And I also want them to get something, some insight into human, like the human existence, the human, the state of humanity, I guess, or, I'm trying to find a word for it. Uh, like, I want them to get some interesting conclusions of human nature, something that out of my music, something that they wouldn't be able to get from listening to, something more basic. I'm always interested in these like little intricacies, these little thoughts that I've always thought were unique to me and my perspective. And so I want to share them. And so that it enriches the listener's experience in their lives. Like they hear something that they've never heard of before, never thought about before, but now it's a part of their life forever. And they're better for it. They're enriched by it. And so that's how I think psychology ties into the music. Like I like exploring the thoughts that people don't necessarily open up about in public, but think about a lot. And I want to, show people that we're not all alone in certain feelings or certain thoughts, and that they can find someone to relate to, even if it's just me.
You also said that Dre and Eminem is like your influence, right?
Yeah.
In Altered Ego,
Uh-huh.
I can definitely tell there's some Eminem inspired music and lyrics in there.
I think it's interesting that you bring that up because I think the lyrics are, it's kind of obvious in the way that I deliver. Like the Eminem influence is really strong in the way I deliver vocally, but a lot of people miss the music side of it. I'm actually really inspired by, the Eminem style or like Dre's style of production. I think that a lot of people overlook it when they listen to music made by those people in that era. But the production style, the way the beats sound, the way the music sounds is, uh, you know, to me, it feels a lot more like home base than the modern style, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
it's not just boom bap, but it's influenced by a lot of like rock elements, especially if you go back to the Eminem Show or the Marshall Mathers LP, especially when Eminem started producing some of his own stuff. I took a cue from a lot of the chord progressions and the instruments that they used. I mean, like Dre uses a lot of piano, right? Like, programmed piano.
Right.
And so I use that a lot as well. And it's like, if you listen to it, people who are familiar with that style of music can immediately pick out the influence of the music itself, like the production style. And I have quite a few of those songs where it just sounds like I'm trying to emulate that sound and bring it back. And I don't know what it is that I like about it so much, but it really like grounds me, if that makes sense. It feels heavy, it feels solid, and I just really like that style of music.
I couldn't agree more. It's just that style to me. It's just got like a smooth let's go beat.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
just roll with it.
exactly.
What was your actual first CD? Was that the Alter or the Raging Ego?
Yeah, that was the first full like LP, I would say, like the full album. I previously released some, small singles and EPs and stuff, but none of that stuff is anything that I'm particularly proud of. Like the first piece of work that I released that I felt was ready for release was Raging Ego. And even now, when I listen back to Raging Ego, I'm like, okay, there are a lot of things that I would have done differently. But that was my first full like record release, I would say. And you know, uh, for someone who had just been doing rap for like 2 years when I released that, I think it's pretty good. But
Yeah.
definitely could have been better. But I feel like I really improved on it on the second album.
Speaking of improving, how your singing voice? You used to say you didn't like how you sing. What do you think about your singing voice now?
I've always loved to sing. I'm Taiwanese, and karaoke is like part of our culture. It's part of our nightlife. It's part of, the way we socialize with other people. I grew up doing it with friends, with family, at, the functions of my parents' friends, we would karaoke. So I've always loved singing. I don't have the most beautiful voice, and that's just something that you're kind of born with, I think. Not everyone can sound like Mariah Carey or Ariana Grande, but I can sing on key, and I think that's something that I've always had. I have perfect pitch, so I can sing on key. I'm not off key. I'm not tone deaf. Now the singing voice itself is something that I had to practice, by taking lessons from vocal coaches and improving on my technique. But I think that over the years, I've gotten better. I've improved my technique, and I just wanted to start incorporating more of it into the music. So there's more singing in Alter Ego, and there's going to be more singing moving forward.
Speaking of the singing with Party Hop,
Mm.
the at the end you showed the video with the fans, right? That's fans in the video.
It's a mixture of friends and people who decided to submit their videos. I made a public call for people to submit to that video because I couldn't go outside and make it at the time. And yeah, I got some submissions. I included them in the video. So it's a mixture of like fans and friends.
Yeah, the one that every time I see it just gets me laughing was the Uber poll. Oh my god, it's so expensive.
I really like that line, and I really like the edit that I made for it. That is the guy that's in the car.
Right.
His name is Tim, and he also goes by D&D Sluggers, and he plays the guitar solo.
Or I've seen you do performances with the band, so you have a band, right?
I did have a band in California. Yes.
Oh, what happened? Or they?
Well, I moved.
I mean, there's no way to do shows together.
Yeah. I mean, in the future, if there's an opportunity, we have done shows in the East Coast, in the West Coast. I would need to basically make sure that my band gets, a place to stay and they get paid for their work. So it'll have to be a big opportunity for me to bust out the band again. If they're willing to pay me for everyone in the band, then I will bust them out, and then we will all have a good time. Like all of my band members are also really close friends. So, and they all have their own projects as well. So they're pretty busy. But the time that I spent in California playing with my band was very precious time, because we all became super close friends, and we're still in contact on Zoom today.
So how did that come about though? How did y'all come together as a band?
Well, I made a call for band members while I was living in California. I used to attend a lot of open mics where a lot of instrument players and creative people would attend these open mics, and I basically just made friends with the people at these events and found a lot of people who were good at certain instruments and also fit in with the culture of the band. And so we all came together, we all became friends, we all started rehearsing together. And mostly we met at these, public events, these open mics, where they were there to present their project. I was there to present my project. And we kind of, bonded on the similarity of our projects, our appreciation for each other's projects. And, everyone came together and started playing together. So that's pretty much how it happened.
So back to the Kryptonite. Are you a Superman fan?
Not a deeper Superman fan than like you probably, or like any DC fan. But like I just thought it was an interesting analogy at the time. It was kind of like a revenge fantasy song, where I wanted to write from the perspective of Lex Luthor. I was like, okay, why not? And I'm just gonna use this as sort of a metaphor. I bet that there's a lot of stuff that I am, I don't know about Superman, but I am a fan of superheroes, like superheroes, supervillains, comics. Like I watch a lot of superhero TV shows. So I took the amount of knowledge that I did have and then I put it into that song. I'm like, I think it's a good song. It's not one of my favorite songs ever, but I think it's good. I'm just glad you like it.
Do you consider yourself nerdcore?
I don't use that word to label myself anymore. Does that make sense? Like if I'm promoting myself, I don't say that I'm a nerdcore artist. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And it has to do mostly with the people in the scene that I don't want to associate with. Not anyone that I don't think. But there are a lot of people in that nerdcore scene who haven't been the best people to me. They either don't like me or, are shitty to me, and for whatever reason. And I feel like it's not really like a catch-all thing for the type of stuff that I create. So I don't use that word to describe myself anymore. But I don't mind if people just use that word to describe me. Like fans determine the genre of the artist, and I've always believed that the fans have the say in what you decide to call us, and if they want to call me that, like I'm totally on board with it. And if they want to categorize me as that, categorization in psychology is a way to make organization of information easier. And if it makes sense for them to categorize me that way, like by all means, go ahead. It's just I don't use that word for myself anymore.
See, by listening to your stuff, I wouldn't have even thrown you into that category at all, except for here.
Oh yeah,
you throw like Luther, and then there's just a couple other really little stuff that I would say would put you in the nerdcore category, but other than that, it would just be like a regular rap.
There's a lot of I'm a child of the early 2000s. Like that was around the time my music taste was being formed. So you're gonna hear a lot of that in my music, and I try to incorporate more and more modern sounds to it because I have to, and I also enjoy it. But it's I still have a strong early 2000s sound. But I'm interested in what you were saying earlier, in that you wouldn't categorize me as nerdcore. Plenty of people do, because of the people that I tour with, that I hang out with, that are kind of like my cohorts in a way. I also get a lot of people who are not familiar with nerdcore as a scene, telling me that my stuff is a lot it is a lot nerdier than standard rap music. So in a way, like it feels kind of hard for me to how do you say it? It feels kind of hard for me to really categorize myself, because on one hand, some people think that I'm too nerdy for regular hip hop or regular music, and I think I am. I think I'm weird. I think the stuff that I make isn't standard. On the other hand, like, I don't have enough, comic book references for like nerdcore. So I just decided to stop using that label because it like didn't make sense either way. Does that make sense?
It's kind of hard, like, because there's one that I interviewed called Tech Force. He's not really, he wouldn't call himself nerdcore. He'd call himself more of a game rapper, because he talks more about games. So
okay, so what's the difference between a game rapper and nerdcore?
That was new to me when I heard it. I just was like, okay, if that's what they call it. And then I saw it somewhere else on Facebook not too long ago, that same phrase. And I guess it's just because they just rap about video games.
And that's all they rap about.
Except Tech Force, the CD that I first heard them with, it was pretty much all about stuff like that. I'd
See,
say
that's
about 90% of it was that.
You know, if that's something that they think that they can do their entire career, like, you know, go ahead. But like, I would never be able to rap about like one thing only, like the entire, like if you listen to my discography, like there's all a little bit of psychology going on throughout, but it's not only about one thing, you know, and it's not only, you know, limited to a certain thing. I try to do like a good catch-all of a variety of human experiences. This is so new to me. I mean, there's the anime rap as well. It's like we're only gonna rap about being anime characters in a certain handful of shows that are really popular. And I'm just like, you know, there's so many different definitions of what nerdcore is. Honestly, like my view of it is that I am a nerd who raps about a variety of things. I think that's the best way to describe it, because normal rappers think I'm too nerdy for them. And then uber hyper nerds think I'm not nerdy enough for them. So I guess I'm just somewhere in the middle. I just like rap music, and I like music, and I like writing music. I like performing music. I just might be a little nerdier than the standard people. And I am nerdy. I mean, I just talked to you for like 20 minutes about psychology. It's like, you know, this is a different kind of nerdism going on here. Like, right. Even if I don't write about video games.
See, one of the documentaries I want to make is called Geek, or Geeky. Geek or Geeky. I can't remember what my note says. But it's about how just not people that like comic books or stuff like that aren't geeks. You can geek over sports, you can geek over music, you can geek over anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just how you perceive what you're just in awe over.
Yeah. There's geeks for everything. There's a community for everything. There's a community for the smallest, most obscure show you can ever think of. There is a Reddit community for that, I'm sure. And people are geeks over everything. Like, you know, people are geeks for like, you know, I don't know, people are geeks for wood building. People are ice sculpting. People are geeks for I don't know, like audio engineering is not exactly programming. Video editing, exactly.
Video game making.
Yeah, I mean,
you can geek over anything, and that's the whole thing. But the whole thing about it that made me think about it was that when you first think of, or somebody says the word geeks or geek, that I'm a geek, the first thing that people think of is like comic books and stuff like that, superheroes and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the whole thing about the documentary is just to let people know that we're not just lumped into that category of just because somebody says geek, that's not what they mean.
Yeah, and I think the same thing can be said for the word nerdcore, right? Like just because someone says that I'm nerdcore doesn't mean that, you know, I only rap about, you know, games and superheroes and, you know, like the things that you automatically think about. And I think that a lot of people who are also necessarily, like, you know, kind of part of the label nerdcore also feel the same way. Like they want to feel the freedom of like writing about whatever they want, right? There's a lot of things that everyone wants to write about and talk about. And just because it's not about a certain thing that is traditionally considered nerdy doesn't mean that you know, they don't belong in the nerd sphere, I guess. But at the same time, it's like you know, what about my work doesn't make it belong in like the non-nerd sphere? I think that's kind of a harder question to pin down, right?
That's kind of like the whole point. It's you can't just point it at one thing,
Mm-hmm.
So, but back to you and your new CD, Lex in the City.
Mm-hmm.
That the downtown beat, dude,
Yeah.
that is the dopest beat you put out.
Well, thank you.
I love the bass in it. The
Thank
bass
you.
in it is awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I made that one. I don't make all of my beats, but I was very proud of that one. I probably spent like at least 5 to 10 hours making the beat, and I'm making the video for it as well. So
Nice.
very exciting. Yeah, that was a self-expression album for the most part. It was made for fun. It was made to kind of explore a different side of my artistry. And it's very different from the rest of my material, and it probably will be the only one of its kind. I won't make another album like this again, but I thought that it was like a fun adventure to do amidst all this, depressing nonsense. I was like, let's do something fun. Like people need fun in their lives. So I decided to record it in a week and put it out on a very fast schedule, and just like release it.
My wife was listening to it one day with me when it came on. She just started listening to the lyrics and she was like, ooh, this girl is dirty.
Yeah, and that's like not really my usual MO, like I mean, I swear a lot, and if you listen to the other albums, it's like I also make some mentions of those topics in the other albums. It's just not explicit. And I just decided to make like a left turn on this album and, try something different and see what would happen if I just went all the way explicit and, express a different side. And it's like, you may not expect to hear this coming from me, but I also wanted to make it clear that, okay, this is like a skill set I have in my toolbox. The skill set, like I can get to this level of dirty, but it's not something that I think I will do again. I think people received it well. I don't think I'll do it again, but it's out there for people to enjoy.
It's just something that you had to get out there and get off your chest.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I wanted to make something fun that was not about the pandemic. And I didn't want to write anything about the pandemic because nobody wants to hear about that shit. So I decided to make something that I thought people could relate to that was not about the pandemic. And, with people being stuck inside, I'm sure that, a lot of them are getting kind of stir crazy, especially people who can't like date or go out, meet new people during this time. So I was like, I'm going to make this album for them.
So speaking of pandemic and just about to release a video, how many videos have you done since the quarantine has started?
I've made a lot of videos, and I'm making more and more every single day. They take a long time, so I can't make a lot of them, but the publicly released ones are videos like Party Hop and Hotel Bed. I'm going to make some specific Patreon videos that are paywalled because they are kind of crazy and I want to limit the amount of people who are able to enjoy it. And so I'm going to make it a Patreon reward for people who are either supporters on Patreon or like want to join as a new member. And so there are a lot of kind of like limited access private videos on my Patreon. But I've made 2 public videos since lockdown pandemic started. I'm making a lot more these days, so expect to see a lot more, but a lot of it is going to be like limited access. Think of it as like, I mean, it's not really anything this this much, but think of it as like like an OnlyFans for music, videos. But it's not actually an OnlyFans, but like
Right.
if you pay for the access, you're gonna get to see stuff that is um more interesting and more crazy than the stuff that people get to see in public.
Another song, "Why We Do"
Uh-huh.
with Schaefer the Dark Lord.
Uh-huh.
That is also that's my actual favorite song of yours.
Cool. Thank you.
Basically, one of the ones I like listening to most of is the ones with you and him, because y'all just mesh well.
Uh-huh.
Have y'all thought about doing like a project together?
I can't say anything about that right now. But
Did I hit something?
Stay tuned. It's we've definitely thought about it's definitely not escaped our attention. Let's just put it at that.
Okay. Actually, that was the first time when I heard of him. Was the same night I heard of you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I didn't know who he was, and I dig his stuff too. I like.
Yeah.
I like the way he flows, the way he goes.
Yeah. I think we have a lot of similar musical influences. We don't listen to the same type of music because we don't come from the same generation. But we listen to a lot of similar hip hop artists, I believe, or like we at least influenced by a lot of similar hip hop artists. And so you might see some parallels or similarities between our styles. But yeah, like I think that there are some delivery similarities too that people have pointed out in that it has something to do with like the influence as well, like the way that we say our words, etc., the way that we write. But yeah, I'm a big fan too.
Well, I can't wait to hear from a news coming up.
I can't say more about it, but yeah, like it's not escaped our attention.
So, switching subjects, your new song that you just came out with, Fauci's Lamp.
Uh-huh.
Is that how you say it? Fauci's Lament?
Lament.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just had to get that clear because I couldn't say that word.
Lament. Yeah.
What exactly is that?
I don't know if you're familiar with the comedy sketch Key and Peele.
No, but I know who they are. I've never actually watched it though.
Okay. So they have a sketch from a long time ago. It was when Obama was president. And Key and Peele imagined what it would be like to be Barack Obama's anger translator. Because Barack Obama had to go through a lot of stuff that made him very angry, but on the surface, he has to be very nice. So he has Key on next to him, translating his niceness into what he's really thinking, like his anger, right? And so I imagined what it would like to be Fauci's anger translator, because he has to keep a nice face as America's doctor. But he's also gone through a lot of shit. People have not been treating him well, and he's been trying to get people to follow certain guidelines, and nobody's been listening. So I'm sure that he's very angry, but he's not allowed to be angry in public. So I decided to do it for him. So I wrote a song called Fauci's Lament, where I essentially act as Fauci's anger translator. And that is the only song that I've written about the pandemic, because I told myself I'm not going to write about the pandemic. I'm not going to write about the pandemic. And then I decided to do it just once because I just thought it was a fun idea.
It's a great take on it though.
Thank you.
I mean, just trying to, because like you said, nobody's listening to him. And if they would just listen to him, just exactly what you say in the song, just
just
do it.
Just close the mouth, because
exactly
all of the nasty spewing out of your mouth.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I'm a Uber driver, and it's weird when people don't get in the car with masks.
I'm really sorry to hear that. I hope that you take as many precautions as you can. It's
Definitely.
honestly so dangerous that people just walk in with their, raw dogging face just in the air.
Right.
I can't even imagine that. I just like, out of respect for other people and respect for myself, it's not an inconvenience for me to put a mask on my face. It really isn't. I just like, whoop, and I just go outside and that's it. And I don't even go outside these days anymore because, there's nothing to do outside. So what am I even doing?
Right. Like
Yeah.
I even forgot my mask was on and I brought it in here. Brought it in.
Hey.
And when I put my stuff down, I was like, forgot my mask.
Yeah. And sometimes it happens when I'm like on my way to the elevator. I'm like, I feel like something's missing. And then the elevator opens and then I see someone wearing a mask inside. I'm like, oh shit, my mask. And then I like run off back into my apartment and then I put my mask on and then I go back.
I get that when I'm going like in a store to pay for the gas.
Yeah.
And I don't even realize I didn't put it on. Not with the mask. I'm like,
yeah, and like nobody calls you out on it because they're just
Yeah.
sick of it at this point. They're
And
just
they
so
don't care.
tired, and they're just so tired of asking you to do it. They're just like, okay, fine. Yeah. It's such an easy rule to follow, and yet, people don't follow it. So, that's the inspiration for that song.
Well, I can definitely understand that.
Thank you.
I meant to ask you, Lex in the City, is that like a take on Sex in the City?
Yeah, it's just a pun. It has nothing to do with the
That's
show
what I
at all. Yeah.
I was just wondering if I was right on that pun or not.
Yeah. It's a pun and it has nothing to do with the show. So if you're listening to hopefully get like a nerdcore album about the show, like that's not it.
Right now is the time to plug things. Whatever you want to plug, go ahead and plug.
I don't have much going on. I'm waiting until vaccines save the world so that I can do more tours and potentially make progress on that secret project that I was talking about earlier.
Right.
But if there's anything that I want to plug, it would be my Patreon page because I am releasing some limited access videos on there pretty soon. From Lex in the City, and they're only going to be available for Patreons for new members and for existing members. So if you're watching this and are interested in seeing some crazy ass videos, consider joining the Patreon, and in doing so, you'll be supporting me.
What about your Twitter and Instagram and all that?
So on Patreon, you can find me as patreon.com/Lex the Con Artist. That's LEXTHE Con Artist. Same thing for Twitter and Instagram. Twitter.com/Lex the Con Artist, Instagram.com/Lex the Con Artist. And I also have a Twitch channel now, and it's twitch.tv/Lex the Con Artist. And I just play some really weird games on there and talk to the audience. So subscribing to me on Twitch is also a good way to support my channel.
Okay, now the old person in me is going to come out. How does the Twitch work? I've been trying to set that up to where I can do my Fortnite gaming on it.
Oh yeah,
to work.
So you have like a gaming level standard computer, right?
Yeah, I played with Fortnite on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I think that should be enough for you to stream. Yeah, sign up for a Twitch channel, and then you have to stream a certain amount of times and have a certain amount of viewers for you to get to like an affiliate level, which is the level at which you can start earning money from it. But yeah, it doesn't take that long. It's not that difficult to get an affiliate. And then in order to stream onto Twitch, you're going to need something like OBS, like Open Broadcasting Studio.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Or a Streamlabs OBS, which is what I use.
And
yeah.
When you run it, do you run it through the OBS or do you run OBS through Twitch?
You run OBS and then that goes to Twitch. So you put all your sources like, your game, your face, your camera, your audio into OBS. And then you start the stream on OBS, and then that funnels the stream into Twitch. So
Okay.
if you look for OBS tutorials or Streamlabs OBS tutorials, you should be able to find like the basic information necessary for you to get started.
I tried to download the one Twitch came up with.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't understand. No.
No. You got to go with either standard OBS or Streamlabs OBS. I think
Okay.
Streamlabs is good because it has a lot of extra like widgets and fun things that you can add to it. But standard OBS is like good enough. And it might even be simpler for you if you're just starting out.
Definitely just starting out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of my wife. She got me on the Fortnite. I didn't even want to play it at first. And then my son came in town and he talked me into playing it with him. And we all played together. And then she got hooked. And then she got me hooked.
I'm pretty sure Fortnite is still popular on Twitch, so you'll definitely get a few viewers if you're good at it.
I was just trying to learn how to do certain things because I'm interested in doing editing, video editing also.
Mm-hmm.
Want to do editing, writing, and directing. And so that's me just trying to figure out how to get the editing style stuff in there.
Yeah.
So, and because I'm playing around with doing a Instagram thing every Friday coming up called we decided to call it Madison Family Fortnite Friday, aka MF3.
MF3, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just us playing Fortnite and all that on it. It's just every Friday put out like a little game that we play.
Yeah. I think that would receive a good audience on Twitch. If you're able to get it going and start building your community, you might end up having like a MF3 night every Friday on Twitch, and then people would tune in to just to watch that.
See, I haven't really done anything in the live streaming style.
So it's not easy. It's a grind, but it's worth it once you get it going.
Pretty much everything's a grind.
Yep, that's exactly why I decided to do it. I was like, this is work, but so is everything else. So I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't do it, you're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do it and you just say you're gonna do it, it's never gonna happen. You gotta actually go out and do it. Find out how to do it. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you suck at it, you're still doing it.
I have made a lot of mistakes on live streaming and Twitch, and I just keep learning. And even if it's embarrassing, I just keep going.
Yeah, that's pretty much how you got to do. Just keep on going no matter what. Don't let it discourage you. Don't let anything discourage you.
I try that.
That's going to take you down hard.
I get discouraged by a lot of things.
I know the feeling. I'm the same way, especially with, like I said, the people with not getting it in the car with no mask.
That is extremely discouraging. I'm sorry.
But that seems to be about it.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you so much for actually taking your time out of your day and doing this podcast with me.
Hey, no problem. I'm looking forward to seeing the completed product. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any more questions or need anything else from me.
All right, no problem. This is going to be the second run of interviews I've done because seeing how I'm pretty much nobody wants to answer an email because I have no following and nobody, and I get it because I'm small. I gotta grind.
Yeah. You know? As I said, it is work, but so is everything else. So why not just do it?
So I mean, I can only put out so much. What I get, I've already got one getting ready to. I'm trying to put it out, start putting out again near the end of the month to mid to January. So it should be up between then.
Yeah, just let me know when it comes out, and I'll post a link to it. Hopefully, get some people to your channel.
No problem. It's like I said, it's going to be on YouTube and pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Awesome.
And yeah, that's it. Thanks for taking your time out of your day. I appreciate it.
No problem. And thanks for the call. Have a good day and take care and be safe.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed the interview. If you did, hit that little subscribe button back there. Don't forget that little bell thing that they got. That way you're notified for whenever we get a new episode, which comes out every Monday. Don't forget to leave a message. Don't forget to leave a comment. Also, you can go to iTunes,
subscribe and leave a comment there. You can find us on Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Oh, yeah, we got this thing called Instagram. I'm on that too. You can find me at IamTRSP. Also, same name handle on Twitter. Go follow me there also. Leave me an email at redheadedstepchild@gmail.com. That's redheadedstepchild@gmail.com. Know thee. Don't forget the audio version has a special intro and outro audio part only. I look forward to seeing you again. Talk to you next week.